That is when I tell the press again, I'm not a member of this church, and give my statement and telling the church that the church should actually support the citizen in rejecting the finance bill. Yes, that was on that day. Redemptor.
Thank you very much, Collins, for your courage. I know the 2017 story is a hard story for you. And so thank you. And if we're going to heal this nation, we start by telling the truth. What is ailing our nation? That statement was made, and all of us have had those statements. I've shared about people who casually talk about brutalized Kenyans. And so I can say some mic requests, but kindly allow us, because today we are humanizing the struggle. We are also trying to say we have to be our brother's keeper, because Collins has another story where nobody documented when he was being arrested. And he will tell us that story after Macharia, because this man is on a mission, Collins, because last Sunday was in another church, but this time there was no drama. And you really have to tell us if you're ready to lose your job, because this is going to cost you. And so we need to know what's driving you, apart from having a young son that you want to have a better country. And so our senior Macharia in the house, sorry, we saved you for last. And so we can do this in maybe 3 parts. You can also, if you are comfortable about telling your story and how you see Kenya, because you write very great pieces for a very long time. Karibu.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Redemptor. Happy to make your acquaintance. Mombe, it's been a long time. Nerima, Collins, of course, I've heard your story, and it is inspiring. You know, what we're going through today, some of the younger people here may not recall the 1980s. Those are the days when there was a monster called the Special Branch. That was the Kenya Police Intelligence Department. The torture chambers of Nyayo House, the Mwakenya trials, the killings, the abductions, the extended torture, people being jailed on trumped up charges. We used to live in fear that sometimes you're even afraid to think, because walls had ears. You couldn't go to a bar or to a restaurant or on the street or in the matatu and talk the day we talk today. The moment you say something which somebody in government doesn't like, you're inside. And before you know it, you've been forced to sign, tortured into signing some confession, and you're jailed for 6 or 7 or 10 years for all kinds of things. Mostly it used to be sedition. And my fear now is that this government wants to take us back to those days. This government was elected on the promise that there will be no more extrajudicial killings. There will be no more politicization of the justice, law, and order mechanism. What we're seeing now is the Kenya Police, specifically the Directorate of Criminal Investigations under Mohamed Amin, has been turned into a political enforcement mechanism, like a youth wing for Ruto's government. The National Intelligence Service, which had been largely professionalized since the reforms driven by Brigadier Boynet, under this regime, under Nordin Haji, is playing the same role. We are hearing about a multi-agency something or other task force or unit based at DCI. It is the one which is abducting people, but it incorporates operatives from the National Intelligence Service who have gone back to playing politics and on behalf of the state. I'm told it even incorporates officers from the military, particularly military intelligence, the anti-terrorism police unit. We are talking about a security system which should be focused on serving Kenyans, protecting Kenyans, particularly from external threats. But it is now being used to protect the president, to protect this government from Kenyans. As simple as that. And I think it is getting worse by the day, despite all the denials. We have heard the president saying, give me the names of anybody who is missing or who has been abducted and is missing. The names have been given. There have been all these reports. We don't hear of any effort to do anything about it. The other day, the police were denying having held the fellows we are calling the Kitengela 3. On the day, the acting Inspector General then, Masengeli, was due to be sentenced for contempt of court. They were released. He had been saying he was not holding them. The police were not holding them. There is the unanswered question: who was holding them? Because there is no doubt that they were abducted by police. Who was holding them and where were they being held? And wherever they were being held, they must have been taken through a very terrifying ordeal. Because you can see, like others before them who have been abducted and released, they are still traumatized. They are unable to give an account of what they underwent. I suspect we are back to the torture chambers of the 1980s and early 1990s, the secret cells, the secret police cells, all those kind of things. We're heading for a very dangerous period. In my own case, I am just a simple journalist. There is nothing I've ever done underground. As I say, everything I do is public knowledge because it is published. I write it and it is published. I have never engaged in any underground activities. Mine is to bring the truth to light. I followed closely the lead up to the Gen Z revolt. I covered it. I even went to the streets myself, not as a participant, but as a journalist. I did not do anything. And then one day, they came for me. And I consider myself the fortunate one, because I happened to be with my son, who raised the alarm, spread the message, and I think along the way, the thing went viral, and a decision was made to release me. Then they came up with this stupid thing about mistaken identity. It was not mistaken identity, that I am sure. They came for me. They were camped somewhere outside my house waiting for me to get out. And I don't share a house with the other Francis Gaido. They were tracking my phone. I don't share a phone with that Francis Gaido. They were following my car. I don't share a car with that Francis Gaido. By the way, I don't even know him other than what I've reading his posts on Twitter. I leave home. I'm going for a meeting in town. I live in Gong. Just around halfway to Karen, a car cuts me off in the traffic. I didn't even think anything of it. I assume it is the normal way Kenyans misbehave on the roads. They overlap, as we call it, and then they have to cut in when there are oncoming cars. But then when the traffic started moving again, this car did not move. It remained blocking me. So I was still trying to figure out what's going on. And I was not driving. My son was driving. And it was just a coincidence, a very lucky coincidence that I happened to be with him, because he had not gone anywhere that day. And he asked me for a ride to town, and I told him, okay, I'll give you a ride to town, you drive. As we were waiting for this car to move away and wondering what is going on, there's another car behind us. The first car was a Subaru. I didn't even think anything of it. The other one was a white Toyota Pro Box. Two men come out of that Pro Box, come straight to my car and yank open my door, the front passenger door where I was seated, and start trying to pull me out. And initially, I didn't understand what is going on. Who are these people? Is this road rage? I don't know. But then I see them trying to put a pair of handcuffs on me. That's when I realized, shit, it's an abduction. It is the police. I struggle with them. They try to pull me out. I am resisting. And my son, a 19-year-old boy who just got his driving license in December, makes a very quick decision. He accelerates and turns sharply to the left to avoid the car which is blocking us. The fellows who are trying to pull me out, two of them, we are almost dragging them along the road. Eventually, they have to let me go. So we start speeding on the left side of the road, on the hard shoulder, with the Pro Box following us. On the other side of the road, the Subaru has put on its siren, and it is now overtaking the cars which are in the traffic, keeping up with us. That's when I tell my son, these are police, they're out to abduct me. Sooner or later, they'll catch up with us. This is what you will do. I will not let them take me with my phone. I will leave you with my phone. As you start spreading word that I've been abducted, and where you can, take pictures and videos and share them on my WhatsApp groups. There's the family groups, there's the neighborhood groups. I'm in various media stakeholders groups, Editors Guild, the Media Stakeholders Forum, some PR, all kinds of groups. Family, work, professional, social. Just share that wherever you can. If you can get onto my WhatsApp, if you get onto my Twitter and any other social media platforms, do that also. My idea was that if we can get to Karen Shopping Center outside Java, there will be many people. I will create a fracas. There will be many people observing, taking pictures, and there are CCTV cameras. That was the original idea. But as we approached the Karen roundabout, I saw the Subaru overtaking cars on the wrong side, going to cut us off at the roundabout. So I knew we will not make it to the shopping center. So I told my son, the police station is just ahead of the roundabout. I told him, drive into the police station. I gave him my phone. I told him, look, I'm going to get out. You lock yourself in the car and start taking videos. So as soon as the car stopped, I got out. I told him to lock. The pro box was right behind me. Some 3-4 guys came out. They started trying to force me inside, and I was resisting. So there was a bit of time for my son now to start taking the videos. The uniformed cops who were there were asking what is going on. They've been told to shut up. Some are trying to help the abductors. Others are trying to demand to know what's going on, but they were clearly intimidated by those fellows who are not in uniform, who are not showing their IDs. Eventually, they forced me into the pro box and started driving away out of the police station and down Langata Road. And the first thing they asked me is, where is your phone? Give us your phone. I told him I don't have a phone. I don't carry a phone. They searched my pockets, even my socks, everywhere. They pat me down. I don't have a phone. Oh, by that time, they have handcuffed me. I don't have a phone. So one of them makes a phone call to some guys apparently they had left behind at the police station, the guys in the Subaru, and tells them he doesn't have his phone with him. It must be with the boy. And I remember what he said. Get it from him, na msimbembeleze. What does that mean? Don't be soft on him. Be rough on him. And the first thing I think, oh dear, what have I got my son into? Then they ask me now, where are our handcuffs? I told you they had tried to put some handcuffs on me. Fortunately, they had not yet managed to lock. So I think I was getting out of the car. I don't know, at some point, they dropped in the car. I told them I don't have them. I don't know where they are. They start slapping me around, asking me, why are you resisting arrest? I told them I am not resisting arrest. I am resisting criminals and thugs. They say, but can't you say we are police? I told them I can't. Show me your IDs. You are, as far as I know, you are thugs. You're not policemen. If you're policemen, you would have IDs. You should show me your IDs and your service numbers. They tell me a very stupid thing, which I actually burst out laughing. They tell me, can't you see we have guns and we had a Subaru? You know, they've made a Subaru the hallmark of a official police car. My son-in-law drives a Subaru. I know so many other people who drive Subarus, and you know, it's just crazy. As for guns, I tell them even all the thugs I know carry guns. So the fact that you have guns doesn't mean is a police ID. Anyway, we keep on going. They tell me off for being stupid, for blah, 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 for being arrogant. And they tell me I had some of them when I drove away, dragging them down. Anyway, I asked them for their IDs, they refused. I didn't want to know where they're taking me, they refused to talk. Then as we approach Galleria, I think somewhere around that turning of Langata South Road, they stop. I'm sandwiched between two guys. Then there's a driver. The driver is the one who was seen on the video coming out to kick me when I was resisting to get into the car. And the guy in front. The guy in front gets out. He's talking on his phone. He talks for a while. Then comes back and tells the guys to turn around, but they still don't tell me where they're going. And we end up back at current police station. First, we park outside the police station, opposite, next to the Shell petrol station. Again, the guy gets out, goes and has a long conversation, comes back. he mentions there's somebody he's talking to who must be his superior, because he mentions to the others that he's talking to Mwaniki. At that point is when he asks me for my ID, which I gave him. And he also takes his phone and takes a picture of me. He walks out again. Again, a long conversation. He comes back. Then he tells the guys who are sitting in the back seat with me to uncuff me, which they do. And that's when they tell me that, oh, it was mistaken identity. We're looking for somebody else with a name like yours. And I just tell them that's crazy, that's stupid. Anyway, I tell them, okay, in that case, let me go. They say, no, we will take you back to the police station where we got you, because something might happen to you and then we are blamed. I say, fine, let's go. We drive into the police station. That time I have seen there's my other members of my family have gathered. My daughters are there, some relatives, some friends from the neighborhood, my Rotary Club, my neighbors in Kirarapon, all of them have gathered there. And that time it has already, I gather now it has already gone viral. So first they drive me to the back of the police station, keep me there for a while in the car, and I'm telling them to let me go. Eventually they say, okay, you are free to go. You can go home. And that's when I tell them, I am not going home. I am going to the report, to the, do they call it the report desk, to report a crime of abduction. I go to the desk, I tell them I'm here to report a crime of abduction. But they don't want to take my report. And I insist and I insist. Eventually they send me to an office to sit down there while they discuss what to do with me. The OCS is called. She was not in at the time. She comes in. I tell her I must report. I want to report a crime. And I want to be issued with what do they call that? Slip of paper.
The OB number.
The OB number. She's saying, no, you don't have to report here. These are CID from this year headquarters. As we are not involved. So what you do is you go and report at this year headquarters. I tell them, no. That first of all is taking me back to the people who abducted me. Secondly, the crime happened here. I will report it here, nowhere else. Then she tells me, okay, go on. That time, even the DCI guy from the current police station is also there. He tells me, okay, what you do, go and report to the DCI at Langata police station. I say, no, I'm reporting it here. Eventually, they get me on the phone with the OCS of Langata police station, who is the mother station of Karen. I talk to her. She tells me I go and report there. They'll take my statement. I say no. Eventually, they allow me to record my complaint. I'm given an OP number, but there's supposed to be another process. I'm supposed to then write a statement. That another pulling and shoving. Oh no, now that one is beyond us. Now you go and write it at DCI. I say no. Go and write it at Langata. I say no. The OCS of Langata calls. She says they will send the DCI guy from Langata to come and take my statement. I say fine, I'll wait. I'm not in a hurry. By that time, more and more people have come. My media colleagues have come. Editors, the leaders from Editors Guild, Kenya Union of Journalists, and others are all there. The press is there with their cameras. So I say, I will wait. I'm in no hurry. And time passes. We're just whiling around the time. Then we say, instead of waiting, not knowing whether these other guys from Langata are coming or not, we might as well address the press. At that time also, the Editors Guild leaders have come with a lawyer. So we address the press. I detail what happened. And then the lawyer advises there is no need to waste time writing a statement here. This matter is beyond the police station now. We are going to go to IPOA. So we say, fine. He calls the chair of IPOA and tells them we are coming. They happen to be in a meeting in Parliament, but they say they'll wait. They'll be there by the time we get there. So we go there. We wait for them to get ready. We are called into the boardroom where the whole, all the commissioners and their senior staff are assembled. Again, we go through the formalities of introducing ourselves, addressing the press, and then I am given an officer who will now record my statement from my son, record a statement from my daughter, who had witnessed the car which brought me back and taken a video, and also got some of the abductors on video. That takes, again, quite a while. But we go through all that. After that, we go back to Karen with the IPOA investigators. They are trying to get the policemen from Karen who witnessed or participated in what happened. But we find that everybody has made himself scarce. Even the OCS has disappeared. Anyway, they tell me, okay, you're free to, they're supposed then also to take me to give me forms for a medical examination. I think they call them the P3 forms. They all take cover. Nobody wants to give me the forms. They say only the OCS can give, and she's not there. I need them so that I can go to hospital to be examined for my injuries. Eventually, the IPOA guys get tired of waiting. They said, you do this. Go to any hospital or any clinic of your choice, get examined, get the doctor to write a report, and bring it back to us and also to the current police station. The IPOA, the P3 form can follow later, which is what we do. That was on July 17th. Today is September 25th. The last time I checked, which was about 10 days ago, the IPOA investigators had not managed to take statements from either the officers at current police station or the officers at DCI headquarters who were in charge of that abduction. The senior officers at DCI had not given the names of whoever it is they had assigned on that mission. The director of DCI, Mohammed Amin, had, by apologizing and saying that it is a mistaken identity, confirmed that it was his men who had abducted me. This week, I have not checked the update, but I have not received any update, so I assume nothing has changed. We are in an era of impunity. The police have become a criminal institution into themselves, and that is why they're covering up for each other. Some of you may recall that, I don't remember the exact date, sometime last month, I was part of a media delegation that went to have a meeting with the police leadership at Jogoo House. We met the acting IG, then Masengeli, Mohammed Amin, the DCI, was there. 2 deputy inspector generals were there. The Nairobi Police Commander, Bungei, was there. The commander of the training school in Embakasi was there, and many others. I think there were more than 15 of them. And I got a chance to speak. And the first thing I told Mohammed Amin is that he is a criminal. And I told Masengeli that what he should be doing is arresting Amin, who was seated next to him. And they came up with all this narrative that Amin is apologizing, and he's apologizing again directly to me. Other officers are appealing to my Christian piety to be able to forgive and to accept the apology. And I said, no, I have heard that apology. I have listened, but I cannot accept it unless it is accompanied by concrete action. And that concrete action can only be arrest of those officers who abducted me. And Mohammed Amin knows them. In fact, he should be arresting himself even. And I told them, I know for a fact that their officers are under instructions from the previous Inspector General, Kome, not to cooperate with IPOA or any other independent agency which investigates their misdeeds. The police have an internal affairs unit, which is virtually castrated. It does nothing. IPOA is unable to move. Even the National Police Service Commission is unable to call our police bosses to order, because they give the impression that they report directly to Cabinet Secretary for Interior, Kindiki, who has also protected them when they break the law. And I think Kindiki does not act for himself. He is part of a political system which operates under instructions from the president. So really, we have become a lawless state. We don't know how many people have been kidnapped and to date are not yet accounted for. The Kitengelaba 3 were released the other day. But one thing they revealed is that wherever they were held, there were more than 90 other people. There have been reports of some of those abducted by police being found in the mortuary. There's one who was found in a quarry somewhere in Juja, and others are simply missing, and maybe right now can be presumed dead. What does that tell us? That this government has gone full blast into extrajudicial executions, kidnappings, murder. We have a police force that needs to be investigated. And if the local justice mechanisms are not able or hamstrung, then it might be need to call for international institutions to investigate what this government is doing to its own people. I think that is all I would say for now. But I am not cowed. I will not bow down. If anything, I came out of this ordeal stronger and more determined to pursue justice. And it's not justice for myself. And that is one of the things I told the police bosses at Jogo House. It is justice for all the other people who have been victims of police brutality, of killer squads, of a lawless police force. Thank you very much for now.
Thank you so much, Macharia, for sharing that. And I even remember when the video actually went viral, and just hearing exactly what happened that day. My heart was in my throat as you were narrating. And the two things I kind of took away from that is that this thing of the fear of whoever this rogue police force or abductors or whoever they are, that the others fear them. And they also, the fact that they just think that it's okay, an apology is enough, is absolutely unacceptable. But thank you so much for sharing that story. We are on Smart Enough. Thanks to every single person that has joined us. Definitely retweet the space, and we hope to have time for a few comments and a few submissions. But Redemptor, over to you.
Thank you. They went to a storyteller, and he is recounting the story like a journalist. But also, there's a fighting spirit, Macharia, that is in you. People don't know that fear until you've been in that position. And Narema, I give you a lot of courage for even coming to the show the day after it has happened. Under your watch, you're watching someone, and the word abduction has been used. Dr. Mobley, I don't know if you have the clip, because maybe people don't believe this is the language of these people, the so-called Kitengela. I don't know if you can play that clip. Professor, we had people who had requested for the mics, and I think people come and they're very impatient when they ask for the mic, because we cannot interrupt the humanizing part of this story. Criminalizing demands for accountability, because that's what everyone who is on this forum as a guest has done. So, Dr. Mombi, do we give Professor time first, or do you play the clip?
I have the clip ready. Let me play.
All right.
We have received a couple of complaints that certain peoples have been abducted, including the so-called the Kitengela 3. We have taken upon ourselves to ensure that the matter is investigated, and it is still under active investigation. So mine is to reiterate that as officers of the National Police Service, we are not holding the so-called the Kitengela 3.
It's crazy that just a few hours later they were released, and Wajinga waliisha Kenya. That's all I'll say.
Thank you, Dr. Mombi. That clip should be kept for a very long time, because it just means you dehumanize the person who's gone through their ordeal. Professor Kivuda, before we give Okumwa an opportunity to say something, you need to give us feedback. What does the Constitution say about what is going on in our country? Is there a hope for this Constitution saving this situation?
Thank you very much, Redemptor, Dr. Mumbi, and I have listened to Nerima Collins and Senior Macharia, whom we have a history going up to the 90s, when in the fight for multipartism, in the fight for the new constitution, he really helped that movement tremendously by bringing to the fore what was happening. And today, the kind of courage that he has talked about and exhibited is a courage from those days. Even before I talk about the Constitution, let me say in the 80s, in the 90s, and Macharia did talk about that. There was exactly very vicious, very vicious treatment of political opposition, of civil society activists, of citizens, students who are engaged in calling the government out because of the atrocities that it was doing. And the special branch was extremely feared, because I remember even when we taught in your classroom, you knew that there was special branch. And, when you said things that were against the government would come for you. I happen also to live from the 90s in Gong. Like Mashere said, that's where also, is around those parts. And I got abducted. And it was those white cars, though now Subaru is a new invention. And they followed me from NCC officers. And I kind of realized that somebody was behind me. I was driving, and I, drove very fast. Tried to drive very fast because you feel, you have a sense that something is not right. And but they were also fast, and they got me as I got into the gate. And the watchman, the watch person, had opened and saw both my car and their car came in. And the kids now, witnessed these fracas. They were young. Then, and people were shouting, and the watchman and myself got we were put in that white car. Sorry. The white car, was behind us, but I was removed from the driving seat. Somebody took, the driver's seat, and we were with the watchman there, and now the abductors, and two abductors were now in our car as well, and we were taken to Ngong forest. But fortunately, by that time, again, the family had raised an alarm to the people in civil society that we were working with, and those people also called the international, the ambassadors and staff, and so again the thing went. Those days it was not so much viral, but of course now the system knew that they were not able to get me without evidence or without other people knowing that this was happening. And of course, they didn't want to steal anything. But I think what I realized was that some of the people involved were not even police. So there was police and other people who are not police to be part of that. So that there's like some criminal fellows as well as the police being criminal. But one must explore the possibility that they recruit gangsters, so to speak, to be part of it, because even the person who was driving the car didn't seem to know how to drive very well. That is my car. And of course, that trauma, like Collins was trying to say, and even Nerima, and that trauma even stays with the kids, so that now they're big people, with their own families, but they still remember very graphically. So that is what some of these things do to people. Twice they also tried to abduct my wife. And one of the times, because it was on Gong Road again, she really resisted from being taken by them, and she got out of the car. So because there were many people now coming around, they were not able to retrieve her and go with her. And the other time it was with one of, her son was from primary school, and she had gone to pick him, and they were trying to get them. But again, she was able to drive until home, and they didn't come into the compound. And of course, when you hear of these things like a spouse being abducted, you also think of, rape, and you think of all sorts of things, and you get very destabilized. But we, said the cause that we are pursuing is a just cause, and we have to continue to do so. And I think from the experience of Nerima and Masharia, it means that you have to be courageous, you have to share widely, what is happening, you have to make them realize that they can't just do it. And unlike Bob, where people were not very sure, of course, they were saying that, he's not, he's a Mandamano guy, he's not a robber. But that involvement of people to begin to say that we are not going to just watch people being abducted. After all, the president said there will be no abductions, no extrajudicial killing, and all that kind of stuff. But that is not what is happening as of now. So I think this solidarity of making sure that this is, if it happens, it is known, and people resist and all that kind of stuff. Because if it can happen before a police station, if it can happen before the office of the president, it means that there is a lot of determination to do these things, like is happening in Tanzania. Of course, Uganda is something that began before. So it is something that is a new norm with our governments in the East African region and generally on the continent. And it means that their options are getting less and less because, for example, the current system in our country, they know that it will be difficult to use the church, faith, because faith now is a bit timid, like what Collins was explaining. They're a bit timid now. They will be very, very careful about being used like they were used in 2022. It is not also easy to use bottom up because, the Mamamboga and the Boda and so on, they have known that there is no bottom up. It's up, it is an up without coming to the bottom. Even people like us currently, there is still, like, we were supposed with Ford Foundation, with Willie Mutunga, and so on, and they keep on asking, didn't Kibwana do anything wrong in Makueni? He has been talking too loudly. He needs kind of to be fixed so that there is no credibility and stuff like that. But even with all those things, and I remember in 1997, even going to church again in Kisumu, and we tried to ask for sanctuary in a church, a Catholic church. I'm a Catholic, but generally a Christian, all the faiths in the Christian faiths, and we were denied. And I need to tell Collins, even when you're denied by a church, a physical church or whatever, that's not God denying you. And so I would still plead, you go to God, with your son, and so on, because human beings can do certain things that it's not God who is doing them, and you go to worship on your own, of course, with the other worshippers, and not just because the leadership is doing certain things. I would plead with Collins, because even after that, after the Kisumu experience and all that kind of stuff, I still remembered, as Collins narrated, the Ndingis, the Okulus, there was the Enjoyers. There were very many, and one wishes for a reincarnation of that spirit in the present moment. So to finalize on the Constitution, of course, the law is very clear. The Constitution is very clear. When you look at Chapter 4 on human rights, all those things that the law says, that you can't torture people, when they demonstrate, they have the right to do that, and they must have dignity. And it's one of the most potent chapters on human rights. And even the courts have tried their bit, the judiciary, to help enforce, some of those things. And we saw, what happened with the acting Inspector General, although, again, there was intimidation. So I will conclude by saying Mumbi and Redemptor by saying that we must prepare for the worst, because it is now like the government using the raw government that this system will think this is what will make you get the win of 2022. So using negative ethnicity, like bringing, leaders of tribes together so that they can convince their people to again vote for the government, and then using the raw government. And this is why there is this widespread intimidation, so that activists, so that journalists, so that those who speak out and who think that our country had progressed beyond this naked use of force, they are subdued. And therefore, and to kill the Gen Z spirit, to buy those who can be bought in the opposition, to complete the buying, like for parliament and so on, and make sure that there is coming back into power 2027. So we have to be prepared, for the long haul, and we have to be prepared for that kind of stuff, which happens when a government begins to run out of ideas. And there's something that Masharia said, that there was a time that you were afraid even to think, because you thought even they would somehow understand what you were thinking and come for you. And we don't want to get into that kind of position. And so we need to actually get to a point where we ask ourselves, how do we deal with the police thing? Because if the police will do what the Constitution says, and it's very clear, again, in that chapter about, the national security, and many countries, they don't have a chapter on security in the Constitution. Now it is managed. So we have to think through carefully, how do we as citizens restrain the police from being used to do the things that it is doing, including people who may be recruited who are not official police, but who are gangs for hire. I think that is something that must be explored. Maraga was asked to do a task force, and he brought the findings. And then again, Kindiki gets another committee of the top heavy people in the security to again look at the police. So you can see that even during the 2007-8, when again there was an examination of the police and police reforms, those have never been taken far. And now Maraga comes and he has a report about things that can be done and showing the road within the police force. And then then Kindiki says, but I think we have also to be careful, because there are police, like was demonstrated, who themselves are not do not know some of what is happening, but there is like special units which are doing this, because again, one is not saying it's the entire police, so to speak, but unfortunately, when they are given orders, they obey orders, and many times, they do things that they don't like, they may not like, but they're being forced, and they're very underpaid, and it's not, they are housed badly and stuff. But we need to focus on what kind of conversation do Kenyans have with the police, so that the police is not used against us and against what the Constitution says. And I yield. And I will be able, Mumbi, to I have another engagement, please, you will excuse me. But really listening to the accounts of the three, this criminalizing of so that accountability cannot happen must not be accepted. And even within the counties, there are other ways where some of the governors are trying to also shut accountability. And again, that is not to be accepted. And I yield.
Thank you so much, Professor. And thank you so much for giving us the time. We always appreciate hearing your inputs, and for also sharing your story and the story of your wife, of course. This is the Smart Enough show. I like the way Professor asked us, what do we do? The one lesson I've learned from listening to the three stories is, like what Nirema was saying, we have to resist, we have to protect one another, shield those who are about to be abducted. And then from Senior Macharia, what I saw is we must follow that process, even if we think it mustn't work. I think an important part of this is recording when these things happen, recording them as a criminal offenses, following up with IPOA. The system may be broken today, but we're going to fix it tomorrow. Redemptor.
Thank you very much, Professor. And having people of your caliber speak truth to power makes a very big difference, because these are people who can call you tomorrow, because I saw when in June they called you a terrorist. Just keep shining, and the young people are looking up to you, the stories of courage from before. Okumu, you've been here asking for the mic. I will give you, unfortunately, we have lost Collins. And Nerema, please request for the mic again. Dr. Mombi, check on your side. Okumu, take the mic.
Thank you, the host, the co-host, and everyone here. I'm humble. Thanks for your chance. Thanks for having me. Sina mengi. I need nataka kueleza if possible, like if there can be fresh accusement for so-called former IG Masengeri for Kitengela 3. Ni swali nauliza, kunaweza kuwa na fresh case kuhusu IG, the former IG,
Asante.
for our for our Kitengela 3.
Asante Okumu, I hear your question. Nimesikia swali lako. Tunangojea bado watoke watoe pia statement kwa mashirika ambayo wanaweza kuwasaidia kupata justice. Asante. Asante.
Yeah.
Nafula Wafula, the mic is yours.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you to everyone that has shared their experiences. Thank you for your bravery, and thank you for your vulnerability, in just being able to share with us. I personally have not directly experienced any form of brutality apart from within the protest context. So the tear gas was beaten up a little. And I acknowledge the fear. And I say that as a person who's in the space, as an activist, as a mobilizer. So I can only imagine what it is like for the countless young people that have only gotten into this space to speak truth to power, and yet are now being targeted like they're criminals. It's really scary. And I have siblings, friends who are much younger, who are very much involved and have found themselves, being more and more engaged. And it's a constant fear as well, because there's also this desire, and not just desire, a responsibility to protect them. But you're like, how do you even do that? I think what worries me the most is that we have state-sanctioned criminality, and therefore approaching this through structures that exist within the Constitution, such as courts, seems not to be working, because The rule of law is simply ignored. Court orders are ignored. Police officers are not supposed to be masking themselves. That's clearly still happening. So it worries me because I'm like, what exactly are we supposed to lean into if court orders are being ignored every day, left, right, and center? And it is very obvious that there are sanctioned criminal elements that are operating with free rein in the country. And so for me, that has been the biggest quagmire. And it calls for us to be able to not only figure out ways of protecting each other, raising more awareness, but really exploring options as well in terms of what can we pursue internationally to bring more attention to what's happening in Kenya. And it also, from a personal point of view, is about reflecting and acknowledging that whatever role you choose to play in the movement, what consequences come with those decisions, and have we made peace with them? For those of us who didn't particularly grow up during the Moi era, I feel like a lot of young people, a lot of Gen Z, grew up in an era where they knew they had the Constitution to back them. And therefore, the fearlessness we saw in terms of them coming out was a firm belief in their rights and the Constitution. And so the mutilation and the violation of that, I think, is a slap across their faces and a slap across Kenyans' faces. So I guess my ask is that we guard our Constitution jealously, and that we recognize that this journey is a long haul journey, unfortunately. And we really just have to figure out ways of being there for each other, buffering each other, and really thinking about the other young people that have found themselves at the front line with little to no experience in activism, organizing, mobilizing, and really stepping up to figure out what does it mean for us to offer a circle of support for them as well. It calls for intergenerational engagement from those that have lived through these times and have had experiences and can offer solutions. But it calls for, I really think it's a circle. It's a circle of support that we need to continue to build. And lastly, I think I just wanted to mention that it's very important for us to not forget the intersectionality of violations that we may witness, the gendered dynamic. So, for example, when women are arrested, when women are targeted, whether that's through maligning online, because I think that's where it starts, and the sexual component or dynamic that it takes. And it builds up into, there's a lot more sexual harassment just in terms of how women are handled when they're harassed, and the fear of sexual violence. And also in situations where we've seen infiltration of state-sponsored goons, we've already seen instances of sexual violence that has been perpetrated with little to no action by the police. So I think it's important, even as we think about the different actors in the movement, to think about the different dynamics that touch on their being active or their being members of the movement, and really start thinking about, even as you think about reforms, as you think about IPOA, how are these gendered violations that occur captured as well, and how can we begin to speak about the movement as it being not a homogeneous unit, but as a movement that has different players with different realities who will face different challenges even as they seek for accountability. Thank you.
Thank you, Nafula Wafula. We have to let Nerima leave because this is a lot for her. And thank you for even taking time to come and listen. And there's a reason why you're here. It's because sometimes we doubt our courage, but you're here to listen to the words of Macharia. Maybe we didn't expect him to be so courageous. And so we'll go back to Collins, because Collins, the first experience was fair, but you were still angry because of the deaths that have happened, yet you go to another church. So thank you, Nerima. We will talk tomorrow. Collins, tell us about your experience at All Saints Cathedral 2 Sundays ago. And now this is your church, because you just disclosed that you're an Anglican. And make a summary of it, because your story is, the message of your story is to the public, it's for the citizens. Karibu, Collins.
Okay, thanks once again, Redemptor Mumbi, and all the people in the group. Let me start just by mentioning the power of a flag. On that day, I think it was on 15th, Sunday, I started a petition just to allow for 20 minutes. If you can check on the message I've sent, actually the petition that I was sharing with the churches, my petition was just to ask the church to at least allocate 20 minutes. 20 minutes is all it takes to educate the masses on ethical voting. I come from a place where politicians actually take advantage of vulnerable citizens, and they do this on church platforms most of the time. I've never known the relationship between church and politics. As soon as politicians see congregation, then there's something that clicks, and they really take advantage of that. Sometimes on the last election, I was part of the observers in my area for election period, and politicians would come, bribe voters to vote for them, 200 shillings, someone would vote for them. But later, 5 years in between, they suffer. So my petition on Sunday was to go to church, submit my petition to All Saints Cathedral to allocate time, 20 minutes. So when I went to church, went to church, parked my car at the basement, and then I had some flyers. The flyers were reading 20 minutes is all it takes for good leadership. And I wanted to use the church, having realized that the current government is here because of part of the church. So the church for me was really important to be part of my petition. At least maybe allocate on their service when the politician come, take 2-3 hours, discuss. As we only requested for 20 minutes, tell your congregants why it's important for them to vote. Ethical leaders who can be accountable, and leaders who actually respect, or when they actually pass bills, like now what the bills that are passing, bills that actually favor the citizens and not bills that actually are detrimental to its citizens. So I went, parked, gave a few flyers to a few people, like the choir, and then they told me, no, we don't have authority to take this. But one of them, actually, a lady actually took and told me, you can talk to the provost, that is Provost Okelo, who had intended to meet on that fateful day, because I saw him during a demonstration during the Mandamano period. So I actually intended to meet Professor Okelo, give him the petition. And fortunately, he'd started his mass. So when I was just there, gave that lady, the lady said she's not in a position, but wait for Professor Okelo. Since my flyer didn't have any attack, I decided pull out my flag, carry my flag, wrap my flag on my neck, carry my flyer high. So I raised my flyer, and then just a few minutes, a few guys were came, read my flyer, left. Most of them actually not concerned on why I was having a flag and raising a flyer. So before I knew, one of the security guards came and told me, Collins, told me, hi, how are you? I told him I'm fine. What do you think you're doing? Those were his words. What do you think you're doing? And then I told him, it's a petition, and I'm trying to raise an awareness that the church would also allocate us 20 minutes of civic education. And it was not only directed to All Saints Cathedral, but to church or to anybody who had a ear to listen, that citizens also need 20 minutes of civic education on ethical voting. And then he told me, no, that one can't happen. I was within the church compound, but not inside the church. So he told me that cannot happen. I told him why. That he insisted again, that cannot happen. I told him, just my flyer. By then I was just carrying my flyer high. So I told him, just kindly read what is here, what I've written. If it's anything that is bad. Told me, no, you can't do it here. Today we are having mass for the advocates, ambassadors. There were dignitaries, I think, in the church during that day, and they were having a special mass for them. So he told me that cannot happen here. So before I know, he grabs my flyer and takes it away. And I tell him, bro, why are you doing this? He tells me, I've told you that cannot happen. If you want to do that, go do it outside on the road. I told him, this is a church. This is a church, and I'm not armed. What I'm just carrying is my flag and what? And my flyer. And there's nothing. I'm not armed. You can check me. I'm not armed. Told me, no, I'm not. We are not arguing. So he grabs my flyer, throws it into a dustbin. I go again, pick the flyer. It's already messed. It's already torn. But I think those are the only flyers I had remaining. I carry them again. So he comes again and texts them and tells me, if you have to do this, if you want to say, give a petition, wait for the provost to finish the mass and then give it to him. So I heed his advice, remove my flag from my neck, put it inside my bag. By then, I'd actually noticed. He told me, "Oh, you're the guy for Holy Family Basilica. You're here to nini your what was the word to look for likes, for online likes." I told him, "No, bro, that is not what that is not my intention. My intention is just to pass the petition to the church." So I take my flag, put it inside the bag. So when I try entering the church, because guys were entering the church, there was another mass that actually had started. So he tells me, no, you're not entering. So he signals the other security guards and tells them that I'm not allowed to enter the church. I tell him, bro, no, you can't deny me access into the church. Just let me go, worship. Once the church is over, I'll share the petition because I have it on soft copy with the provost. So he tells me, no, you're not entering the church. So he tries to pulse me and then tells me, go there. By then he's brandishing a gun. He's a private he's a private security guard for the church, but he has a gun. He's showing me the gun. So I'm like scared. I'm like, this is a church. This guy is brandishing a gun. I'm not armed. So he pulls me next far away, slightly away from the main entrance of the church. So he tells me, I've tried handling you diplomatically and it's not working. So I'm not going to allow you. I'll handle you like a criminal. I tell him I'm not a criminal. And then he raises his hand and calls two guards and now armed police officers. So the two armed police officers come and then he tells them, this guy is a threat. I tell him, I'm not a threat. Who am I a threat to? He tells him, he's carrying a placard here. I've told him not to enter the church, but he still wants to enter the church. He wants to go disrupt the mass, and we're having guests in the church. And then I tell the other armed uniformed police officers that is not true. He's told me to wait for the mass to get over. And then I submit my petition, and that is what I've agreed. By then, I didn't have a flag. So the police is like, you're the Holy Family Basilica guy. You think this is Holy Family Basilica? We are going to handle you like a criminal. You are under arrest. Tell him, under arrest for what? What have I done? You are a threat. So before I know, handcuffs on my hand. I tried to resist. Nobody in the church even is bothered to even come and ask what's literally happening within the church compound. This young man is not armed. This young man was just carrying his flag. Nobody is bothered. So he tries to drag me and tells me, let's go into that car. So with this era of Bob Njagi disappearing and a few youths that I know actually who've disappeared, and Yusuf, one of them, nobody knows where they are, I'm scared. And I'm like, I think this is my last day on earth, and the church is selling me. The church has given me out probably as a sacrifice. I'm going. So I start screaming within the church compound, and nobody is bothered. Them seeing that I'm screaming, they start dragging me down. So I pull my flag out of my sling bag and hang it on myself while I'm handcuffed. So I'm dragged on the tarmac in front of the All Saints Cathedral. Nobody, not even a single person. If someone has a video of what had actually happened, you tell me. With all their smartphones, with all their bodyguards that were there, nobody even came and asked, what is happening? This guy, you dragging this guy on the tarmac, and the guy has a flag and nothing else. He's not armed. What is wrong? He's not a thief? Because probably I've never seen a thief going to steal with a flag. I've never seen, probably has ever happened. So they drag me on the floor, on the tarmac, towards a private car. So I scream, because I knew if I entered any private car, then probably that would be my last day on earth. So they drag me, they tell me, enter. I tell them, no, I'm not entering any private car. So they make a radio call and call up one of the police boss, I think who was the one in charge of that area, and tell them, we have a security threat at All Saints Cathedral. Send us a police car. So by then, I'm down, I'm laid down. Other police, there are dogs there sniffing, because I think because of the event that was there, all the police units were there, the dog unit, the CID, because there were also plainclothes police, the GSU, the Red Beret, all of them were there. So they all surround me and then one of the police bosses there and then asked me, what is it? And then I tell them, I was just submitting a petition, and I didn't even utter a word. And then now they are wrapping me up. Then he tells me, oh, you are a threat. Within this time, there was already a police truck. So they carry me, they hold me, and they try to pull the flag. They try to get the flag out, take the flag. But I'm like, you will kill me, but I will not leave the flag. If I have to die, I have to die with the flag, because I'm fighting for my country and not fighting for any. I'm fighting for my country and not any other thing. So if you have to kill me, you have to kill me with my flag on my hands. So they're like, yes, you will kill you if that is what you want. So before I was actually thrown into the truck, when I was just down there, the handcuffs, the security guard, the plainclothes guard who started all this, comes and tells me, oh, unajiona we kijana. So he comes in with his boots and steps on the handcuffs. So for people who've been arrested, probably Masharia can attest. They try how the handcuffs actually work. So they try to tighten them by stepping on the boots, and the pain was just I don't know how to explain it. So they step on the handcuffs until they are tight. You can't even twist your wrist even a bit. So before I know, my phone is on my pocket. I tell them, let me call my wife or my family. Just tell them where you guys are taking me, because I didn't anticipate you guys would take me to, you'd arrest me. And then the police is like, no, that is not happening. So he takes my phone from my pocket. Then they carry me, almost 6 of them, and then bang on me inside the pickup. And then they drive me. So by then, I see the car driving all the way to Milimani. And then before I know, we are in Capitol Hill Police Station. And then he takes my phone. puts me, they book me, switches off my phone. One of the police officers switches off my phone. He tells me, you don't have any rights. Your rights actually end now. The only right you have is right to life. So he's dragged, I'm taken into the cell. During the June Mandamano, we were told when you're going for Mandamano, have your ID, have a few numbers that you've written just in case you disappear. Probably someone would find a number and call. If probably they kill you and someone tries to search your pocket, they will have a number. So I have my wife's number, I have my father's number on my pocket. So when I enter the cell, lucky enough, I get one guy who was also arrested for a different crime. So he has like his smartphone. So I tell him, bro, I'm arrested and nobody knows actually where I am. So I tell him, can I have your phone for a minute? Just tell my wife and my dad where I am. So I call my wife, tell her I'm arrested. I'm at Capitol Hill. I was arrested at All Saints Cathedral. And then I call my father. Then something also clicks and tells me there's a friend I know. He's based in US called Jabali. So I text Jabali and tell Jabali, I'm arrested. Please get anybody you know. He has a few he has numbers on social media, also on Instagram and X, I presume. So I text him and tell him, Jabali, I'm arrested. Please just ensure that it's out so that if I disappear, everybody knows that I was arrested at All Saints Cathedral. They know how I was arrested and I was taken to Capitol Hill. The saddest part of all this, that what still hurts me up to now, is the church, All Saints Cathedral. No one was there to ask what is happening. And it reminded me of the story of the Good Samaritan, for those who actually gone to church and read the Bible, the story of Good Samaritan, how nobody helped until those people who they thought probably would have helped, the guy was injured, it didn't come through for him. And the only person who came through for them was the Good Samaritan. So Jabali was able to circulate the info, and before I know, it was trending. And I knew it was trending when one of the officers came and told me, activist, wewe ndio your news is everywhere online. And then before I know, every police comes and says, where is the activist? Where is the activist? Now when they come, that was like a signature call. They'd come and shout, where is the activist? So before I know, it's online. And then thanks once again to all the bodies, like the LSK, the LSK, I would say LSK. Before I know, Maura Kabata was there. Maura Kabata was the non-family member who actually came. Within a few minutes, he was there. Tried looking for, talking to the OCS, and the OCS was like, no, I can't give you attention now. So the OCS left. And then, based on Maura Kabata's info, he was like, they came with the LSK president, but the OCS didn't want to give them attention. So the OCS left. My brother also came, talked to the OCS, but the OCS said the matter was beyond her now, and she would only get instructions from above. So they tried and told me, no, now you can't live here. My brother told me, you can't live here until tomorrow. They'll arraign you in court tomorrow. So during the night, it was just like mental torture. They try call me and ask me who. There's that mentality the police still has, or whoever is above them, that someone still funds this, and they don't actually believe that a normal citizen or an active citizen will just wake up from their house and go and just demand for good leadership. They believe someone has to send them, and they don't believe again that someone who has work, who's employed like me, would leave their house, leave their work, leave their kids, and go to church or go to a government institution and demand for a good leadership. So during the night, there was just interrogation of who is funding us, Do I know a few guys who actually go for maandamano like Boni and all that? How are we linked with them? Have we ever met? Personally, I've never met Boni, but they were trying to associate me with the Boni, that there's someone actually who's trying to fund us. And then they start with the bail. Now the deputy OCS tells me, your kesi yako iko mbaya sana. You need a cash bill of 100,000. And then we had talked with the Mwaura Kabata, and Mwaura Kabata told me there's no case there. So don't even pay even a single cent. So, and I knew, actually, I also knew that there's nothing wrong I did, because it's my right also to submit a petition to any government institution. It is my right. It is my right to access information.
Yeah, Colin, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you because we don't like to keep our show for more than because people have been here and we appreciate. Now, the shocking part for me hearing your story is you're still on this course. Last Sunday, you are in another church. What is your message to the church and to the young people? And are you still going to do this? What is the end? What is the end game? Considering that when you are picked, nobody spoke up to rescue you. And that was the time when the Kitengela three, Bob Jagi, and the long-haired brothers were missing. Just your final submission so that we can give Masharia, Gaido, a last chance, and maybe Farah, you can also make a remark, a very short remark. Collins, your final submissions. What is the way forward for you as a young person?
My petition is still on. Last week I was at Neno Evangelism Center, and it's a petition that actually I really love to get people who we would work with. The intention is to submit the petition for churches to give 20 minutes of civic education, not once, but also the same way they give politicians airtime. That is the same way they should educate masses on ethical voting. So the petition is still on. Looking for people I should work with. There's Baraka we are working with, and just a few youths who actually share the same goal or the same idea. So the petition is still on, I would say so. Thank you.
Thank you, Collins. And I know your story is long. I hope you can write an article about it for people to read. What happened when they salimiated the head of the Anglican Church and how the provost handled you, and the apology that has not yet come. Before I give Masharia, thank you for your patience, Farah. We keep a very tight ship. I'm giving you 2 minutes to make your submissions.
Anti-redemptor, thank you. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
I actually just came on the speakers panel to try and encourage Collins because he is on the right path. We need to build bridges with the religious institutions because they command about 90% of this country's populace. We are not we are a secular nation, but we are a religious people. Collins, I volunteer at the Interreligious Council of Kenya. Tafadhali kuja. We try and you try and do this from the top going downward so that you can also have a structure around you and a way to disseminate the information as well. Thank you very much, Redemptor.
Asante sana, Farah, for always having a very sober approach to this. Professor Kibwana, I don't know if you'll close for us, but if you're still here, you didn't go for your meeting. Masharia, what is your word for this nation? Because we are a nation at the brink. Are we in a 202 moment? And what do we do? Because all of us have faced fear in the face, and we still face it by being here tonight.
I'd say we are forever on the precipice where we are being led by politicians. But it is the responsibility of all of us to pull us away from that precipice, to some place where there is hope and where there is a future. And I think I have always written that we are facing a revolutionary moment. But when I talk about a revolutionary moment, it is not about guns or violence or a military coup. It is about a revolutionary moment in our minds. Something that will rescue us from this culture of dependence on politicians to think for us, to do everything for us, to feed us, and we follow them like sheep. Today, it is very easy for us to blame Ruto, Raila, Uhuru, Gachagua, and before that, there was Moi and Kibaki and Job for our problems. But the problems at the end of the day are with us because we are the ones who elect those rascals. Ruto did not shoot his way to power. Uhuru did not shoot his way to power. They were elected, even if we can consider that the elections were contested or disputed. The thing is that they are legitimately in office through the vote. And it is us idiots who vote for them because either I want to vote for my tribal leader so that I think I will also eat. I want to vote for some political leader who promises me heaven on earth or gives me money so that I can vote, not thinking that if I vote wrongly, I am voting against my own interests and the interests of my family. And I really like the direction Collins is showing us, civic education. We must really make our Kenyans realize that the only power they have is the vote. And that one can be the revolution that changes Kenya. But when we go to 2007, we are no longer going to be tied down to voting like sheep for an ethnic, out of ethnic mobilization or being bribed by the guy with the most money. And that starts from the vote for president down to vote for MCA. Across all factors, it is us who have the power. And it is us who can change the governance of this country. That is all I will say. Of course, we must keep up the pressure. Where there is misrule, we must contest it without fear. We are seeing the kind of, these guys have gone back to default mode. The kind of mega corruption that is now taking place, the Adani deals, the social health fund, everything now is just a case of eating, and eating. So we must still contest those things and fight those things with whatever weapons we have, including going to the streets, going to the courts, and putting pressure on our MPs and other elected leaders. But at the end of the day, we really should have a very, very intense focus on the next elections and who we will elect. And that is what will be the game changer. Thank you. And my time is up, and it's my bedtime.
Asante sana for giving us the whole 2 hours and sharing candidly and the courage that you have. I think Mombi, you'll speak to one group, and Professor Kibwana would want you to speak to your peers. These are your friends. These are people you've broken bread with. You are in this moment, you have children, you're seeing the struggle all the parents are going through with children who have education and can't get employment. Speak to your friends.
Some of them may not be my friends in a friendly way, if I can say that. But because if you do wrong things, you cannot be our friend. Even when we have had a history previously. For example, Kindiki, as a professor of law, actually human rights law. So when things are done which are contrary to that spirit of human rights, that's a big problem. I want just to echo a bit on what Macharia said, and also Collins, in terms of this civic education, particularly systematized. I remember again in the 90s, 80s, 90s, we did, quite a lot of civic education, so that there could be multipartism, return to multipartism, the Katiba, and all that. And we had even like something we call Daraja, all the people who are doing civic education together. And also we used the faith sector, because Moi did not want to attack them because he said he was of God. And therefore we would use venues provided by the religious sector. And that is why I am still saying that, and I think Farah did also say so, that that conversation with the faith sector is very critical, because that's an ally from the past, and I think going into the future as well. But there has to be a lot of conversation with them for the realization of what I'm saying. I think, you see, Bashari talked about a ballot revolution going into 2027. And that means, therefore, of course, as we continue with whatever it is that people do to resist, it means that we have to be very intentional. And those forces from the Gen Z uprising, progressive forces, I think it's very, very, very important that they solidify their force. That coming together becomes very, very, very important, because if there's that visibility, then it means that also those who are trying to do wrong things realize that there is a group that is very visible, that is talking to the country, that is opposite what is happening, that is beginning to crowdsource what Kenyans want, and to concretize that, so that we say, whoever it is who is seeking leadership, this is what Kenyans want for real. This is the agenda, whether it is free education, free medical health, youth employment, opportunity, and so on and so forth. I think for me, that is very, very necessary, even as we say the civic education must continue, and there's a lot of injection by the young people of that. But if these progressive forces don't come together and they are separated, we'll get like to what happened in 1992. Moi beat the opposition because he got 30%, they had 60. 1997, the same, and so for me, that's an urgent agenda. The people in parliament, people who are in those top positions. I think one has to say that the constitution, and I think this is something both Nyerere and Mandela said, that, but particularly Mandela, that you make a constitution so that when you are not in power, it protects you, because you can't be in power forever. And if you don't obey the constitution and you don't obey law now, you are sending a signal to those who will come after you that they can do crazy things to you as well, and you'll have no defense. So I think in terms of making sure that this is a rule of law country, this is a country where we implement the constitution, this is very, very critical. And begin, instead of abducting young people, killing them when they are doing Article 37 activity, it is to sit with them and ask, how can we multiply opportunities? What is it that we can do together so that there is opportunity for you? But not to say that we can't meet their demands, therefore we are going to terrorize them. So that is what I could say, and to just say the courage exhibited in today's space by Senior, by Collins, by Nerima, and those who have, that courage is what sets Kenya apart, and that courage must continue. And I think, as I said earlier, we need to find a way of also dialoguing with the police. To every police station, we find a way of dialoguing with them and telling them that, like the young people are saying, they come in peace. They because it's an important. Every country needs a democratic police force, and there is a future also for the police. Better terms and all that, and that conversation is necessary so that we don't just say they are enemies and that's it, because you must try to change people. And this was, I had a family thing a bit. I was late a bit for it, but I had come back to listen to the conclusion by us, particularly the main speakers and our hosts, and I yield.
Thank you so much, Professor. Dr. Mombi, I'll let you close, and I think I will ask you to speak to the young generation. I would want to talk to people who are employed and to remind them that there was a group called the Special Branch, and even waving two fingers got people arrested. They have to wake up to the reality that if you have a child who is in their 20s, in their 30s, that generation does not forget. They are very unforgiving. They know what this fight was about, and it has not been completed. So they will finish what they started. So just to talk to them and tell them, people have worked for the government before and they have retired and they've gone to Treasury to look for their pension and they become ordinary citizens. It's not worth it to hurt a fellow Kenyan who is fighting for your country. Like I said, the reason why people are fighting over the name Kenya ni home is because most of us do not have plan B. We don't have another home. And we cannot go to live as a lawless country. The people who are speaking up, including ourselves with Dr. Mombi here, we are not criminals. We are not the enemy. We are trying to build a better Kenya because our great grandfathers and our ancestors fought and stood for something. Dr. Mombi, you will finish for us, and I don't know if you'll find there's an anthem for East Africa, because I feel like we need to hear the voices of the children as we go to sleep, telling us about how we have to protect our uhuru. Asante, Dr. Mombi.
Thank you so much, Redempta. Unfortunately, I don't have that song close by, but I'll see if I can play the national anthem or something again. Mine is just to tell the people that I think the example we saw yesterday of people standing behind Boni and protecting him is a very important lesson for all of us to learn. And we must be our brother and sister's keeper. If you see someone trying to be abducted, don't just sit there like we saw in the Matatu with Ben Jagi. Do something. There is power in numbers. There is power when we stand up for each other. And I think that is the absolute most important thing. I'm trying to play this. I'm going to try and play the anthem. Thanks to every single person that joined us on Smart Enough today. We hope that this was encouraging. To Macharia, thank you so much for sharing your story with so much courage. And for everyone who else, even Collins, thank you so much for taking this so personally, because as Redempta have said, this is our home. We don't have another one. I'm just going to play the national anthem that I always play. Until next time, good night.